Hello, Market Watcher. I'm David Ravel, and today, a special report on today's payroll numbers. Now, as you know, the stock market is closed for Good Friday and the Easter holiday. But the bond market, which represents a good portion of my focus, is open until noon Eastern Time. Additionally, many of the government bureaus which produce the economic reports that we rely on are also open this morning. Included in this group is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which provides most of today's reports, including the non-farm payroll reports for March, the current unemployment rate, and the average hourly earnings. And with the exception of that last report, earnings, it's all been good news this morning. In fact, it's very good news in terms of the non-farm payrolls. Here, 916,000 workers were added to the newly hired or hired back. And this is especially welcome as we struggle to regain many of the lost jobs of the past year. In fact, this big jump in payrolls resulted in a 0.2 drop in the unemployment rate, which is now down to 6%. That's a pretty respectable number. But while you and I may be very pleased to see such positive results, Wall Street, on the other hand, is disappointed. And for many of the analysts there, it's back to the drawing board, as they were beginning to see things in an entirely different light. Now bear with me here, put on your big league boots, because we're going to take some large steps as we unwrap what this all means to the street in general, and the bond market in particular. As is often the case, the street has gotten entirely ahead of itself, in my opinion. The street has seen this as a time when the economy is going to come roaring back, and things quickly return to normal. And from this perspective, demand push inflation is directly ahead. So strong did they paint this recovery that nearly everyone on the street saw the new payroll numbers coming in today north of 1 million. And in fact, I saw one estimate of these non-farm payrolls as high as 1.8 million. That would certainly put a strain on the economy to keep up with all that pent-up demand. People back to work means more customers in the shops and stores, means greater pressure pushing prices higher and higher. It also means that interest rates would rise and bonds fall in price. It is, in short, the inflation scenario that the street has been pushing for some weeks now. I suspect that now that we've just seen payrolls coming in below the million mark, that some of the steam will be taken out of the inflation scenario. Not gone, perhaps, but certainly not the runaway inflation that some have envisioned. And right now, a half an hour after the report, that seems to be what the bond market is seeing also, as bonds are currently unchanged on the day. Remember, going into this report, we had lost 10 million jobs due to the pandemic. And although we gained 900,000 of those back today, that still leaves us 9 million below pre-pandemic levels. Now, I'd like to draw your attention to one last report, and that's the average hourly earnings. Although they were up about 4.2% for March, this is still a full percentage point below February earnings rate. And it likely means that these new jobs that we're seeing today were the low pay type, the waiters, cashiers, and retail workers who are at the low end of the pay scale. Another reason not to get carried away with the thoughts of a runaway rebound. So from my desk, this was all positive, although not an over-the-top gain in new jobs, and another indication that full recovery for this economy will be a long, hard slog, and we will need every effort from government, private industry, and the regulators to make sure that we don't slip back into malaise. It's well done, but much, much more is needed. This has been a special report on today's payroll numbers. I wish you all a wonderful Easter holiday, and I'll see you on Monday.